Thank you for downloading or streaming this message from Emmanuel Church. We are one church with multiple locations, and we believe God wants to bless you right where you are. In a few moments, you're going to hear some practical teaching from God's Word that I believe will be inspiring and relevant to your life. First, though, if you haven't yet experienced Emmanuel Live, we encourage you to go to our website, eclife.org, to check out our service times and locations so that you can experience Emmanuel in person or through our online campus. If this message blesses you and you'd like to support the ministry financially, again, you can go to eclife.org and click on the Giving tab and choose Online Campus as your campus. Thanks again for joining us today, and we hope this message will be an encouragement to you on your spiritual journey.
Well, good morning, Emmanuel Church. How you feeling today? I want to take a brief moment and welcome all of our first-time viewers or guests at our Banta campus, our Franklin campus, our Garfield Park campus, our online campus here at Greenwood. Can we give it up for all of our first-time attenders, watchers? So glad that you are our guest today. Hopefully the experience thus far has been a positive one for you. I also want to take a moment really quick and welcome everyone in the foyer here at the Greenwood campus. Say hi to the folks out there in the lobby. Hi guys, we see you. We'll get you in here soon enough before, after COVID and everything. But anyway, my name is Danny, and we're starting a brand new series today called Made to Give. And it's going to be a very challenging series. It's going to be a serious series, but I also think it's going to be a fulfilling series. A couple of months ago, I was listening to a podcast called the Tim Ferriss Podcast. It's not necessarily a spiritual podcast, but I really find value from it. He talks a lot about personal development, and he was interviewing Hugh Jackman. Any Hugh Jackman fans out there? The X-Man guy, and he was also recently in the circus movie. What was that called? Yeah, The Greatest Showman. It's funny story about that movie real quick. When it first came out, my brothers were in town, or maybe I was in New York. I can't remember if they were here. I think we were there. And we were trying to figure out, to take the whole family to a movie, what can we do? We've got 3 children. My brother Jason has 3 children. My brother Jimmy has 3 children. It's tough to get everybody to go to the same movie, right? So I'm like talking to my brothers. My one brother is a lieutenant in the New York City Fire Department. My other brother is a high school principal in New York City. And so they're like baseball jock kind of guys, okay? They got really difficult jobs in New York City. And so I'm convincing them that we should go watch Hugh Jackman's new movie about the circus because he's the X-Man, This is going to be great. This is going to be awesome. It's going to be intense, And so they're like, no, we don't want to go see it. But I finally convinced them to go see it, only to come to find out it was a musical. And when the movie started, they both sat forward and looked down at me at the row, and they're like, are you kidding me? But we were already committed. So I owe them one about that one. Anyway, he was great in that movie. You gotta like musicals. So Hugh Jackman being interviewed by Tim Ferriss, and Tim likes to ask all of his guests, what books are you reading right now that are really challenging you? And so when he asked Hugh and by the way, Hugh Jackman, I didn't realize he's a really thoughtful guy. Like he takes his life very seriously. He's in a committed marriage, and so he mentioned this book called The Second Mountain. Now, at that particular time, I just wrote it down in my journal, and I forgot about it. And then about a month later, I was coming out of Starbucks, go figure, and I walked past McAllister's right here in town in Greenwood, and there was a guy outside reading a book, and he had it open, and he looked real serious, and he's taking notes, and I'm like, ooh, what's that, And I'm kind of a social guy, you know what I'm saying? I like to talk to strangers, so I just said, hey, what you reading? And he closes the book, and he says, I'm reading this book called The Second Mountain. And immediately I remembered that was the book that Hugh Jackman said was really, encouraging him and helping him. So I went and picked it up. Got into the introduction. I was like, man, this thing is great. I like the way this guy writes. He reminds me of like a modern day sort of C.S. Lewis kind of writer. And come to find out, by the way, I didn't know this, but David Brooks, the author, is one of the nation's leading writers and commentators. I recognized his photo in the jacket of the book. I've seen him on PBS, the NewsHour. He's on Meet the Press. And I was like, okay, I know who this guy is. So anyway, I start getting into the book. Chapter 1's great. Chapter 2's great. Chapter 3's great. Chapter 4, I am gripped. And the reason why I was gripped is because I don't have the biggest heart in the world, but I have a heart for people. Like I care about the condition of people's lives. The reason I'm a pastor is because I want to improve not just my own quality of living, but I want to improve the quality of the lives of the people around me. And so in chapter 4, he starts going through the condition of the American life. He says that since 1999, the suicide rate in America has gone up 30%. From 2006 to 2016. The suicide rate of students between the ages of 10 and 17 has gone up 70%. And I'm reading this and I'm like, what? This is incredible. He said that on average every single year, and this is kind of heavy, and I know I don't want to be too heavy or discouraging. We're already like overwhelmed with 2020. I don't want to like add to it, but this is like by the way, he wrote this came out before COVID. This is pre-COVID. 45,000 people every single year, pre-COVID, commit suicide in America. And like, how is that possible in this developed, the most developed, most free country in the world? People are just killing themselves. I'm thinking about, I've seen stadiums full of people, like 20,000 people. I've seen every seat. Have you ever seen a stadium filled with 20, 25,000 people? Picture 2 full stadiums of people every single year just killing themselves. On top of that, he said that 72,000 people a year die from drug overdose and opioid overdose, which is sort of a form of suicide. And then he said the CDC has found that for the 3rd straight year in a row, the average lifespan of an American has shortened. And I'm gripped. And if I'm honest, I can still feel the heaviness of it. Like, what is going on? Why are people so incredibly down and discouraged and depressed and anxious in our country, in the most developed country, most free country in the world? What's happening? And so he gets into it, and I don't have time to talk about all the reasons that he cites for the current condition of the average American, but I can tell you this. He talks about that there's a crisis of meaning. People are struggling to find meaning in life. People are struggling to find purpose in life. People are struggling with alienation, feeling like they can't trust anybody. But at the root cause in chapter 4, he says, you know what the biggest cause of is we're suffering from a crisis of loneliness in this country. We're suffering from a crisis of loneliness. He cites Vivek Murthy, who was the former Surgeon General under President Barack Obama and then underneath President Trump. He writes this in the Harvard Business Review. During my years caring for patients, the most common pathology I saw was not heart disease or diabetes, it was loneliness. And then in chapter 4, he goes on to describe where he believes this loneliness comes from, or what the cause of this loneliness is. And he calls it something called hyper-individualism. And he said it started back in the 1960s when the culture back then embraced this idea of hyper-individualism, which, by the way, he explains was a solution to many of the problems back in the 1960s. You know, when we started to say, hey, we need to look at individual rights and the right to vote and the right for this and the right for that and we need to be free. And a lot of that, the individualism that was focused on in the 1960s was a solution to some of the major problems. But then he says, as things have gone on and as decades have progressed, this hyper-individualism has gotten even stronger and more focused. And it's now causing destruction and harm to us. And he says that it's tearing apart the fabric of our society. In the book, he talks about it like this. He says hyper-individualism has led to a society where people live further and further apart from one another socially. And again, this is before COVID, and then we're at the socially distant, emotionally, and even physically. We were created by God to connect. But our culture has moved away from connectivity into hyper-individualism. He talks about how in the 1940s and 50s, the mindset of the average American was, we're all in this together. And that was in large part because of World War II, and we had to fight Germany and Nazism and all that stuff, and we had to come together, and we felt that way as Americans. But then after the 1960s, we all kind of went, nah, every man for himself. We're not all in this together anymore. It's all about individual rights. And again, that solves some of the problems back then, but now the pendulum, he argues, has swung too far the other way. And now the end product is loneliness and a lack of meaning and a lack of purpose and feelings of alienation and a lack of trust. Did you know in the 1940s and 50s, 75% of Americans trusted the government? Can you imagine? You know what the stat is today? Most recent stat is probably lower now after what we just went through, right? 25% of Americans today say they trust the government. Yeah, no kidding. There's lots of reasons not to trust the government. We are all in this thing together. Went is now every man for himself, trust nobody. There are consequences to that. And he argues that the so-called deaths of despair are a consequence of it. Listen to what he says in the book. Heavy statement. And I don't mean to be heavy. I just want to talk about what is this series about? He says, the reason American lives are shorter today is the increase of so-called deaths of despair, suicide, drug overdose, liver problems, and so on. Where do they come from? What's the cause? And those in turn are caused by the social isolation that is all around us. We think we're more connected than we've ever been because of social media, but we've never been more disconnected because we're made to be in actual relationship with each other. And so as a pastor, in America, this is where we minister, and I know we have folks watching in different countries, and we're glad that you're watching in. This is our mission field here, and maybe you have some of the same problems in your country. What do we do? How can we be part of the solution? For starters, we can talk about it. We can read, we can study. We can talk about what authors are saying, people who are studying society, and bring it to light and look into the scriptures and see if we can help. The Second Mountain. It's not necessarily a Christian book, but I'll tell you what, he's done his homework. He's a Jewish guy who you could argue, based on what he said in the book, did become a Christ follower, but it's a little vague, but that's not the point. He studied Christ, he studied Christianity, and he studied what would fix our world today. The second mountain implies that there is a first mountain that has been created by decades of hyper-individualism. What is the first mountain before we talk about what the second mountain is? He says this in the book. The first mountain is about finding happiness through personal fulfillment. If our culture has taught us to focus on yourself, this hyper-individualistic approach to finding happiness, then what we're going to do, and this is what we've believed, then in order for me to be happy, in order for me and you to be satisfied, I must go achieve things for myself. Life is about me. Life is about my goals and my dreams and how I look, and life is about my hair, and life is about where I go to school, and life is about how much money I make and how many cars I have, and life is about me. And we now live in the selfie culture, don't we? Where many of us can't go a day without taking a photo. And then before we post it, we ask 5 of our friends, is it cute? Is it cute? Because I don't want to post it unless it's cute. Because we got to get those likes, you know what I mean? We live in a culture where we take pictures of our stupid face every day. And I just need to say it. It's unbelievable. I'm telling you, 20 years from now, all you selfie takers, most of us are in the younger generation, you are going to look back on your childhood and you are going to think, what an idiot I was. 1 million pictures of my face, and then I would share it as if people care? This is insanity what we're doing to ourselves. But that's the result of hyper-individualism. I am the product. It's me. It's all about me. How do I look? And I'm telling you, it doesn't work. Happiness. Let's talk about happiness, because he makes a big deal about the happiness and what the other option is. And I'll talk about what the other option is in just a second. Happiness is a brief, momentary emotional experience. A good, brief, emotional experience. But it's fleeting. It's like when you buy something new, you get a new pair of shoes, or you just got your hair done or your nails done or whatever it is, or you just bought something on sale and you're like, man, this is great. I'm happy. Because my team won, or I got a new purse, or I got a new car, or something, or a new video game, or whatever it is. And then it's over, and that's why you have to go do what? You have to go buy another one. Because that feeling that you had of happiness based on something that you achieved, or you did, or you bought, or the deal you got, it's gone. It's fleeting. Happiness based on personal achievement. That's what the first mountain is all about. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Because you have to keep repeating yourself. By the way, this is how drug addicts and addictions start, right? Even at the physical level. It's fleeting. That feeling comes and that feeling goes, and you got to do it again. But this time you got to do it a little bit more. You got to drink a little bit more, take a few more pills to get that same high, and so the addiction builds. Happiness through personal achievement or personal feelings. It doesn't work. Why else doesn't it work? Because you were made for so much more. You were made actually to find something called joy. We'll talk about what joy is in a second, but you were made for something deeper that actually comes from looking outside of yourself. Have you ever wondered why space is so vast and large? I mean, it's incomprehensible when you really think about space and the galaxies and the universe, and it's just mind-blowing. Have you ever wondered why it's so vast and large? You have to wonder. In fact, if you've never wondered, wonder today. Tonight, go outside and look up. And just say, what is that all about? Why? Why am I so absolutely tiny compared to all of this? There's a message there. There's a message. We are to look outside of ourselves and be drawn into this thing called wonder, drawn into this thing called worship. We are to find fulfillment and satisfaction outside of. Why are there 7 billion of us? It's so that we could look at others, people, and admire and respect and serve and give. The sheer number of human beings on this planet is a sermon in itself. Here's what the message is. It's not about you. Stop taking selfies. Now I could pray right now and the sermon could be over and we'd all be like, okay, that was pretty good. But there's more. That's first mountain stuff. That's climbing the first. Life is about you, getting yours, getting your respect, right? Getting your achievements, getting your money, getting your car, whatever. It doesn't work. We have to move to this thing that David Brooks calls the second mountain. What is the second mountain? In your notes. The second mountain is about finding joy, which is different from happiness, through serving others. It's about finding this pervasive sense of well-being, and I like to define joy that way because it is a good emotion, but it's long-lasting. It could even be permanent in some situations if the life is lived very well. But it's this long-lasting emotion, state of mind of well-being that kind of pervades your whole life, regardless of what's going on outside of you. Where does it come from? It comes from serving and giving and looking outside of yourself. You say, man, you haven't even opened the Bible yet. Is this even a sermon? Well, here we go. Where does he get this idea? Well, he gets it through his research. And again, he's not necessarily like saying he's a Christ follower or anything like that, although I do believe he is. He's collecting data from all different places and all different authors. He's collecting data from the Hindu religion, the Buddhist religion, from Christianity. He's looking at examples of modern day people living in this country, giving their life away, finding joy. But at the end of the book, he talks about how really this is about what Jesus said. And Jesus put it like this in Matthew chapter 10. If you cling to your life, if you make your life about you, if you live the selfie life, he's actually got a chapter in there called the selfie life. If you make all life all about yourself, finding happiness through personal fulfillment, you will, say it with me, you will lose it. Doesn't work that way. But if you, say it with me, if you give up your life for me, you will find it. In other words, if you want to find what life is all about, you want to find the satisfaction and the happiness and the joy that you were created for, you have to actually do the opposite. You have to give your life away. But that's tough to do. Why? Because we are inherently selfish. Are you self-aware enough to admit that that you came out of the birth canal utterly selfish? Like I am, and I know it. And I've seen it happen 3 times. My wife gave birth 3 times. That baby comes out of there. After you clean it all up, it's kind of cute, right? And then what does it do? It wants what it wants. Day after day after day after day, it wants what doesn't want what you want. It wants what it wants, right? And guess what? If you don't make a choice to move out of, I want what I want, then you're going to be a 35-year-old who's going, I want what I want. And then you're going to be a 45-year-old going, man, I didn't get it. It's not my way. And you're going to get a divorce. And you're going to think happiness is in another, finding another. And then you're going to be 55 and you're going to be a selfish narcissist. The same way you came out of that birth canal. And then you'll be 65. And nothing will change. It's tough to give up the self. It's tough to die to having your own way. But that's the second mountain climb. In fact, I wrote it in your notes like this. The second mountain climb starts with surrendering yourself. What does that mean? Surrendering to God that I don't have to have my way. Life isn't about me. I'm not going to try to find personal happiness by doing everything I want to do, eating what I want to eat, going where I want to go, spending money on myself, doing this, having everything go. I'm going to give that up. I'm going to give that pursuit up. See, the phrase good news is not necessarily a New Testament phrase. It just simply means, or gospel, it just simply means good news. There's lots of gospels out there. The gospel of the United States of America is personal happiness through personal achievement. And we have believed the wrong gospel, many of us. And that has led to a loss of meaning, a loss of purpose, a crisis of loneliness in our country. There's a different gospel out there, and here it is. Ready? You will find everything you're looking for. Deep joy, lasting happiness by giving yourself away, by dying to yourself. Listen to Jesus' invitation to follow him. Luke chapter 9. Then he said to the crowd, if any of you wants to be my follower, here's what I want you to do. Ready? If you should decide to become my disciple, you must, say it with me, give up your own way. Let's do it again. Give up your own way. Oh, that doesn't sound very American. I know, it's because the gospel of America is go get yours. Do it your way. I did it my way, right? That's what the famous song says. Jesus says, no, actually, if you want to find life, you got to give up having your own way. Take up your cross daily and follow me. What did the cross do to Jesus? Tough question. What did it do to him? It did what? It killed him. Jesus was murdered on a cross. Now, is he asking you and I to murder ourselves? No, he's not saying that. So then what does he mean by take up our cross daily? He's simply saying, die to the right to have your own way. Give it up and follow me. That's what he says. The path to true joy, deep and lasting happiness, is giving yourself away, practicing generosity. And he says, follow me. Okay. But Jesus, follow you where? Where are we going? If I'm going to give up my agenda and what I want to do and my will, and if I'm going to surrender that, if I'm going to crucify my flesh, and where are we going? It's a great question. You know what Jesus would say to you today? He would say, toward people. We're going to move outside of yourself. I put 6.5, 7 billion people on this planet, and we're going to move towards them. See, when you open up the New Testament, and I hope you do, you see Jesus moving towards people. Rich people, poor people, religious people, not religious people, people who are struggling with a disability, people who are completely healthy, men, women, old people, young people. Jesus was always moving towards people. And he says, I want you to follow me, and we're gonna invest our lives in people. At one point, Jesus said, sell your possessions and give to those in need, and you will lay up treasures for yourself in heaven. Whoa! Be rich towards God. Invest in people. People will last forever. In one particular instance, Jesus invests in a guy named Zacchaeus. I talk about him often in Luke chapter 19. He's a great example. He's this really filthy rich thief. He is the chief tax collector, right? He's a bad guy. He is hated. Jesus goes to his house. Zacchaeus has this transformational moment. He receives the forgiveness of his sins. He wants to change his life. And after he does, Jesus makes this statement. It's sort of his mission statement for his life. Listen to what he says in Luke chapter 19. For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save those who are lost. What does it mean? What does it mean to be lost? Out of place, disconnected from God. Jesus has come to connect those who were out of place back into a relationship with his Father. That's why he came. And then he says, come, follow me. We're going to go connect people back to God. We're going to go invest our lives into people. Jesus put it this way in Matthew chapter 20, verse 28. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to what? What does it say? And to give. To give his life as a ransom for many. It's as if we were kidnapped by the evil one, being held at a ransom payment, and he comes down and he dies on the cross and he pays the price for you and I to be redeemed. Jesus lived a second mountain life. He gave his life away. And he was the most joyous being in the universe. And then he says, come on, follow me. We're going to leave the selfie life. We're going to leave the first mountain life. We're going to start climbing the second mountain. And we're going to invest in people. Katie Sparks is someone that used to be on staff here at the Franklin campus. And she left our staff to go be the executive director of an organization called Kick It. Anybody heard of Kick It? Kids in Crisis. And she's leading a fantastic organization, has a great staff of people, great board of directors there. And what they do is they essentially try to help high school students and older kids from 16 to 25 who are homeless in Johnson County. And you wouldn't believe how many there actually are. Not homeless in the sense that you'd see homeless people in downtown Indianapolis, but homeless in the sense that they're sleeping in parks, they're sleeping on friends' couches, and they just don't have a home. And so Kick It is an organization that helps these particular students, kids, get back into school, put a resume together, find a job, get an automobile, get a place to live. And they're doing amazing work, Katie Sparks says, with this organization. And I often think, she's so young. Why is she needs to go have a career. She needs to go make money. She needs to go, why is she doing it? Why is she investing her life this way? Well, she's climbing the second mountain. She's investing her life in people who are in need. And this last year, our youth ministry, across the board, all of our youth ministries at all of our campuses raised $13,000 and gave it to Kick It this last weekend. Isn't that incredible? That $13,000 that our youth ministry raised supports one student for an entire year with housing and resumes and all the things that they need. That's what I mean when I say a second mountain climb. I'm talking about finding joy. And if you meet Katie, if you know her, how many of you met Katie? She's a ball of joy. She's a ball of energy. She's giving her life away. See, you and I were created for something much more than happiness. Through personal achievement. We were created for joy. A permanent, if I could say that word, or long-lasting, pervasive sense of well-being that comes to us in a way you wouldn't think. It comes to us as we serve others, as we look outside of ourselves. You actually have to have faith to believe this, because it's not what our country has taught us. It's not the messaging of our nation, the American dream. Go get yours. Happiness will come as you get yours. That's actually a toxic message. And the evidence is everywhere. How many of you know someone who has committed suicide? Raise your hand. Yeah. The evidence is everywhere because we're believing the wrong message. What if you decided to believe the right message? What if it started with you? What if you said, man, I'm going to pursue joy by giving? What if you said, what if you recognize the reality, I was made to give? Jesus put it like this: it is more blessed. There's more joy in giving than there is receiving. Do you believe that? This is something you have to believe. You have to take a step of faith and say, I actually believe that the source of my happiness and the source of my lasting joy is by serving the person next to me. I love the way David Brooks said it, and I'll wrap up here. In the book, he said it like this: the people who radiate a permanent joy have given themselves over to lives of deep and loving commitment. Watch this. Giving has become their nature. Think of it. It's become their character, the type of person that they are. Who? People of permanent joy. This is who you can become. How? Watch this. Little by little, they have made their souls incandescent. I love that statement because it puts the ball in your hands today. Little by little, one encouraging text message, one act of service in your home, one encouraging statement to a brother or a sister. Little by little, we turn ourselves into light bulbs, which is exactly what Jesus said we were supposed to be. You are the light of the world. What is that? It's the joy shining through us that has come to us by giving our lives away. This is the message that can change your life. I don't know about you, but I want to be an incandescent light bulb. I want to shine bright. Sometimes there's dark moments, but I want to overcome my selfishness, which is a choice to give up myself. I don't want to be the 55-year-old selfish narcissist, because that's where we're all headed. Hey, that's where you're headed. We don't stay the same. We get better or we get worse. Agreed? Agreed? You say, how do those old people become old and grumpy? Well, because they get worse over time. Nobody stays the same, right? So we got some 15, 16-year-olds that are caught up in this action right here. And we need to work our way out of that. And then there's some 20-year-olds who are still doing that. But there are some who are not. They're starting to climb the second mountain. And then there are some 30-year-olds who are starting to climb the second mountain. But there's not too many. There's some who are realizing this. And then there are some more 40-year-olds up there, some more, right? And that's good. We need some more of those. And then you know who we really need? We really need like 50-somethings. Who have climbed the second mountain, and they're not all the way up, but they're like 3/4 of the way up, and they are just beaming, incandescent light bulbs, just like, just light going everywhere. And then all us 20s and 30s, and those of us who are young, we're like, oh, that's what I should be doing. I should be giving, I should be serving, I should be sacrificing. And then there should be like an even bigger group of 65-year-olds up there. They're almost at the top. And they're shining so bright, they're like the star at the top of the Christmas tree. And they're going, it's great up here, come on up. And all of us younger people should be like, I'm coming, I'm trying, I'm so selfish, I'm a narcissist, I'm a selfie. We should be wanting to leave that behind. That's what maybe that's a dumb image, but that's what I have. I want to be one of those 65-year-olds, I want to be I want to be one of those 75-year-olds, just bright, shining so bright because I've just given. That is second mountain living. And the choice is yours. Which mountain are you on? Which mountain are you climbing? Personal achievement? Did you hear what LeBron James says after he won the title? I'm not a LeBron fan, surprise, surprise. I mean, I think Michael Jordan's much better, and that's the main reason, but, okay, it's not about that, okay. LeBron's an incredible player, but not the best. But anyway, not my point. But did you hear what he said? He said, after he won the title, he said, I just want my blank respect. That's First Mountain language, folks. And hey, LeBron's younger, and he's one of those guys in his 30s, and he needs to look up and see those guys in their 50s and 60s, and they need to be like, come on, LeBron, there's a better way. There's a better way. There's a better way. What mountain are you on? I want to try to get on that second mountain. How about you? Now, as we wrap up, no one lived a second mountain life better than Jesus, because no one gave more than Jesus. He gave his life. In fact, Jesus actually said it just like this in John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he, say with me, he gave. He was the most generous. God is the most generous being in the universe. He gave us his one and only son, that whoever believes in him, has faith in him, puts their trust in him, will not perish, but have everlasting life. I've heard it said like this: you're never more like God than when you're giving. You say, I want to be more like Christ. I want to be more a godly person. Start giving. Give your time. Give your resources. Give your ear. Give your hands. Serve somebody. Do something. God gave. He gave himself for you. Now at this church, what we're trying to do is we're trying to lead the way and give you opportunities to give. And so we focus on two things: your time and your resources. Your time and your resources. We challenge you all the time to join the impact team. And if you look around, you see a bunch of people in red shirts, not like this is orange, but red shirts that say, how can I help? Ask me to help. You know what that is? That's the impact team. They've chosen to give an hour of their time to serve at one of our campuses or online or with the children or parking or serving coffee. We want to challenge you. Jump on the impact team. You can text the word team to 65248 and you can jump on. And all that is just a way to demonstrate generosity. It's a practical step coming out of this sermon. How do I do it? Well, I'm going to give an hour of my time. And then also financially, we challenge you. Give a portion of your finances. That's a way that you can express your generosity. A couple years ago, we did the $5 challenge. Anybody remember that? We called it the latte challenge. We called it the Marlboro challenge. Remember, I had a pack of cigarettes. Some of you don't remember that. That's okay. But I thought it resonated with some of you smokers. Anyway, it's like, man, if I could buy a pack of cigarettes, I can give $5 to my church. And so I challenge you to do the $5 challenge. Many of you did that. Then last year I did that. We doubled it to the $10 challenge. Many of you jumped on board. You did the $10 challenge. So this year we're going to do something crazy. We're going to do the $15 challenge. No, we're not. We're not going to do that. That's if you want to do 15, that's fine. But we just want to encourage you to take a portion of your income and give it. And what will that do here at the church? Well, that's going to help us launch campuses. That's going to help us feed kids in our community. That's going to help us partner with our partners in Nicaragua and Haiti and Colombia and Africa. We're just going to give it. We're just going to give it. We're going to serve. We're going to be more of a blessing to our community. We're going to help foster kids, adopt kids. We're just going to give it away. You can text the word give to 65248. You can set up a reoccurring gift. And that's important to say. I'm not talking about a one-time gift. Anybody can do that. Because it's emotional, it's like, okay, I should do it, maybe you feel guilty, whatever. I'm talking about a consistent lifestyle of generosity. So I would challenge you to go to 65248, text that word, and set up a reoccurring gift. That's what my wife and I do. We've taken a huge step to say, you know what? We're going to trust God not with $5 a week, not with $10 a week, but with 10% of our income. Every time we get paid, we're going to give 10% of our income away. Why? Because that's what the Bible teaches. It teaches to trust God, live on 90, give away 10. And so we just trust God with that. Maybe you're ready to step up and do the tithe. It's called the tithe. Text the word give to 65248 if you're ready to take that step. As we wrap up today, nobody gave more than God. Nobody gave more than Jesus. He said, I've given my life for you because I love you. My overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love for you. I will chase you down. I will find you. I will leave the 99 because I love you. Jesus would say to you today, I've given my life to you. I've given my life for you. I've died on the cross for your sins. Will you trust him today? Will you accept his gift of grace? If you'd like to do that today, I'm going to pray a simple prayer. You can close your eyes. You can bow your head wherever you are, whatever campus you're at, wherever you're watching. Reach out in faith today and trust Christ. Take these words and make them your own. Dear Jesus, thank you for dying on the cross for my sin, for paying the penalty I could not pay, for canceling the debt held against me. I place my faith in you today. I trust you. Wash me of my sin. Cleanse me. Make me your child. And from this day forward, help me to climb the second mountain, to find joy through serving others. I pray this in Christ's name. And everybody said, amen. Can we give God glory, church? Amen. If you haven't figured out by now, we like to text words here. So if you just prayed that prayer, we would ask you to text the word SAVE to 65248. We've got a little starter kit for you here on what it looks like to be a Christ follower. There's a Bible in here. There's a mug in here, a little to say congratulations, and some instructions on how to get connected to the church. One more time, guys. Can we give God glory? Amen. Woo!